How you doing, guys? Today I have been working on the little shifter cover. What I mean by that is this. This ended up being a project that I thought was only going to take just a couple hours. It's basically taken me all day. On the 1056 with the original 3-speed tranny, there was no need for a high-low stick. But because I swapped the 8-speed transmission into it, I do need to use the high-low stick in conjunction with the actual gear shifter. So the cover that goes here on the 1056 kind of comes down and then bends down just beyond the shifter, or I should say the high-low selector. So I needed to modify it. Now I've done this in the past. I did on my 857. The little mule project, because I swapped an 8-speed into that. And essentially what I did was I just cut a slot, as you can see right here, so that high-low stick can just kind of pass through the actual cover. The 3-speed stick, or the gear shifter, kind of comes up in this area just after this, so it doesn't go in there. So I said, all right, simple enough, right? So I took some measurements and I took the 1056 one and I said, okay, this shouldn't be that hard. Well, I don't know if you can notice something here, but I'll give you a shot like this. If you notice something, when I did the 1056 cover, I put the slot in the wrong spot. You can see how, and how this one, now this is the 857 and it fits perfectly, but this was the 1056. I clearly cut the slot in the wrong area. So basically I ruined this. It's a total piece of junk. We can throw it away now. So I was kind of like, oh man, what am I going to do? Obviously I can't use that. I got to put that back on the 857. So I said, well, there's only one other thing I could do. I can go out and try to find one and then just start the whole project over. But then I was like, I don't feel like spending any more money. So I went over to my steel bin and I made a new one. So that's essentially what I did, was I just made a new one. I just found a piece of sheet steel that was the right thickness over that I had over in the corner of the garage. I actually made a paper template, put that template over here like this. So basically what I did was I didn't do it half-assed the second time. I actually kind of made the right template. It actually goes underneath, but I made the right template so everything would clear. And then I took it and I transferred this to a flat piece of sheet steel. And I just marked out where the slot needed to be. I cut the slot, I filed it all down, and then I bent it to pretty close to the right angle. To the angle that the original one was. It's a little off, but once you bolt it into place, you don't see that. And then the last thing I did was I took the original, these nuts that are kind of spot welded into place. I took it and I drilled out the spot welds, and then I spot welded those back into place on my new cover, so that way it would all look clean and original. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this. I'm going to go bolt this into place so you can see how that fits. Okay, so with it all bolted in, you can see that it looks nice and clean. The reveal along this edge is about even. It doesn't look that way, but it is. It might need just a little adjustment, but the reveal is pretty nice. The spacing of the shifter, you just like that. You got a nice clearance, and you go back. Got about the same amount of clearance. Might be a little bit more on this side, but once that's all painted up and done, it should look nice and clean. And then obviously the fender pan lands right here, so you just have this little bit of opening, and that's where the shifter comes up through the slot, I guess you want to call it. Before I go ahead and paint this, I got something that I want to do. I have an old mechanical oil temperature gauge, so that I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to drill, cut a big hole in here, and then the gauge is going to go here. And then it's mechanical, so there's like a hard cable, like a hard wire cable, however you want to call it, that's going to run Let me get in here so you can see. It's going to run out of this hole that I cut into the lower section. This is where all the wiring and that the probe is going to come. It's going to come along here somehow, along this area. And then I'm going to use this port right here. This is where the low oil shutoff switch went on the original Magnum engine. I'm not putting that plastic float in the motor because you don't want that thing to come loose if we're at a higher RPM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this plug out, and I'm going to make a fitting that goes into this hole, obviously, and I can bolt the probe, which is going to go into it. It's a solid, it's brass. Brass and copper, so it doesn't float, it's solid. So once you screw it all in there, the probe will stick into the oil, probably about this far, maybe about an inch and an eighth or so into the oil. And it's not electrical, so it's mechanical. So as that oil heats up, it's going to transfer the heat through, and then before you know it, we'll have a reading here on the gauge. So that's my next project, is making that fitting for the engine block. Once I get that all done, then I can do the layout for the gauge and then cut a hole into this new panel I just made, and then ultimately paint it. Paint this panel and bolt it all in nice and tight. So there you go, guys. A little bit of, how did I make the bend? I should probably say how I did that. It came out pretty good. What I used was a couple pieces of band iron and some other junk that I have down here in my, junk bins, and I just bent it on the vise. I used a hammer to bend it down, and then I used another couple pieces of band iron in my vice grips just to manipulate it into place. And I got it fairly close to the original angle. So that's it. This 1056 original cover is no good, so we'll be throwing that out. And this is my 857 cover, and I'll just go put that back on because we're all set there. All right, well, that's tragic, right? Yeah, well, bye-bye. All right, guys, thank you very much. If you guys have any questions or comments about what we just talked about, by all means, please leave a comment below or get in contact with me, and we'll talk it over, I guess, right? All right, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good day. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.